Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we've got a little bit of a special one. We are not doing the Vanguard tier list. I've been talking about it for like a month. We're not going to do the Vanguard tier list. We're actually going to do a tier list where we talk about the teams for next year, all the CDL rosters. Basically, all are confirmed. We've got a couple like London and Paris or Vegas that aren't exactly confirmed yet, so we're going to do that. We actually have a decent amount of news to talk about today. Probably the first time we've had a decent amount of news since like Champs time. And then we also have a new guest joining us. But before we get into that, I want to thank you guys all for 700 subs. Just like 2 months ago, we were on the road to 300 subs. And now in the matter of the last few months, all of a sudden we're at 700. We're approaching that goal of 1,000. But first, 800's up. So if you guys could help us get to 800 if you enjoy this one. I know it's the slow season for the CDL. There are not a lot of people watching CDL videos right now because let's face it, it's kind of the dead time. Roster Mania's died down and we're still waiting for the new game. But the beta's out, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we've got a lot of news, and then we'll do a little cut in the middle of the podcast, and we'll get to a tier list of all the teams. But I got to introduce somebody to the podcast. Obviously, you guys know Kyle hasn't been on for a bit. His life got busy. The door is always open for Kyle to join again when the new season starts if he wants. But I wanted to get a second voice on the podcast because, you know, it's fun to record alone, but it is not nearly as fun to just do it by yourself when you can have conversations with other people. And I'm having my friend Brock join me today on the podcast. And Brock has been one of my best friends in the world for a lot of years, since I was probably in like middle school. And he's also shared a love for competitive COD like me since as long as I've known him. So we're going to have him join today. So Brock, how you doing today? Introduce yourself to all the people.
My name is Brock. I've been watching COD really since Black Ops 3, like hardcore, but I've also been playing Call of Duty since MW2, the GOAT one.
MW2 or MW3?
MW2 is MW3's the GOAT one, though.
All right. I know this is like a debate for me and Brock all the time.
MW3
is his favorite COD, always. Him and one of my other buddies, and I always say Black Ops 3. You guys know that Black Ops 3 is my favorite COD. That's, I know, an unpopular opinion. Kyle would always roast me because Kyle's a big MW2 and COD 4 guy because he's a boomer. But that's Brock. I know. I told Brock today he's probably gonna be super nervous on the podcast. I remember like for the first 2 months that I recorded, I was always so nervous every time I hit record. And I know Kyle told me it took him like 2 or 3 podcasts and he was just like so nervous to talk in the first one. So give Brock some slack if he's a little nervous today. I was so nervous for so long, but we have a lot of news to talk about, and Brock's gonna get right at home right away. So before we do the tier list, let's talk about some news. There was a lot. We had some retirements, some rosters officially announced, some more rumors. Gunless might be retiring. We got the schedule for the year, so we'll just dive right into that. First piece of news, Crim, probably the biggest headline from the last week since I last recorded. Crim retired from the CDL to do content. In my last video, I actually talked about how I thought maybe Crim was joining London because there was that rumor that he snaked Paul, that he was announcing something. So I went from saying I thought Crim was on London in the last podcast to now Crim's retired. Kind of a big hit for the scene, huh? I mean, one of the most storied players, probably the unanimous GOAT, and really like brought so much entertainment to the streams with his walkouts and everything. So you got any thoughts on Crim?
Yeah, I'm just sad to see Crim go. Such a staple to the Call of Duty scene. And, you know, I'm going to miss seeing his walkouts with The Undertaker and stuff like that.
He was talking about all offseason how he was planning his walkouts too, and I was so excited to see like what he did. I mean, he was probably going to be on like Paris or London, so he wasn't going to get a home event to like really go all out like he did last year in New York. But I mean, there's a lot more to Crim too than his walkouts, obviously.
Yeah, championship speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, what is he? 38 championships after he got that Pro-Am one this year. So clearly the most championships in COD history, tied for the most rings. Absolutely incredible career. I'm kind of like, it seemed like kind of abrupt because, I mean, in the franchising era, MW2, he wins a world championship, and then Empire, they were pretty good. Like they were like always like around top 4 in Cold War. Like they were a competitive team, had a chance. You know, at Champs, I think they finished like 3rd, maybe. I think they were at losers finals against Ultra.
I think.
Yeah, so like they were very competitive in Cold War, and then you know obviously they had the terrible start, but like down the stretch, Crim maybe wasn't playing the best, but his team was extremely successful down the stretch. Like they made that incredible run to qualify for champs. So like it didn't really seem like Crim maybe like was completely out of stuff, but like a lot of people talked about how he kind of burned bridges and stuff like that.
I just didn't want to do it over again like last year. That was one
Yeah,
for the ages for
and
him.
well, and if he was gonna get on a team like London, where like the rumor roster been like him, Asim, Zero, maybe like Nasty, it's maybe not a top end roster, and I feel like at
Yeah.
this point in his career when he's won as many championships, like as he said, and he said like relationships outside the game were struggling and stuff. Like at this point, is it worth it to grind all the way back up? Like, what does he have left to prove? He's the unanimous GOAT. Like nobody will argue against him being the GOAT.
He also said his mental was like, deteriorating from
Yeah.
all NYSL stuff last year.
I mean, yeah,
So
it sounded like a
I don't blame
horrible team
him,
situation.
honestly. But
Yeah.
I think he'll do really good in content.
I think he will too when he can actually like fully be himself because he's got a wacky, entertaining personality. And he like talked about how he's gonna get into like F1 content and like racing
Mhm.
content, which that's not really my thing. I don't know a lot about racing or F1, but I know it's got like a lot of fans and a big community. So and with his weird, wild personality, I know he has some connections to like some F1 drivers right now, I think. So he's gonna like be playing the F1 simulator game and stuff. I'm sure he's gonna see a lot of success.
Just see it
And
on his Twitch.
I wonder if he'll do much with COD. I feel like he could be a guy that like will kind of just be like, I played it for so long, I'm done with it, and like doesn't care about the scene now that he's gone as much. And I feel
Yeah.
like we might not see him in like competitive COD circles as much. Like I'm sure he'll maybe watch like tournaments or something and do watch parties because that's free views for him.
I think he said he was gonna play Warzone 2 when it comes out.
Oh yeah, that
Pretty
makes sense
heavily.
too. And then knowing him with his competitive addiction, he'll probably get into tournaments and stuff, and we'll see him competing again in some way.
Yeah. Probably
Um,
win one, to be honest.
yeah, all the CDL pros seem to go into there and be successful if they put their time into it, like Rated and those guys, Tommy,
Yep.
Blast, and also that can kind of be our little transition here. Speaking of Blast, Blast and Saints are apparently returning to Challengers to play with Mohawk and Decimate. Pretty interesting roster because obviously Mohawk is a back-to-back Challenger champ and like doesn't even sound like he even got
He's
like
a
talked.
two-time.
Yeah, he didn't even get talked to by like CDL rosters
Yeah.
somehow. Kind of the curse of being a main, I guess.
Kind of mind
But
blowing
Blast and
though.
Saints, they're returning. Saints been around forever. He also
A
won Challenger
while.
champs. Yeah. Your thoughts on this roster?
Um, I don't really know too much about. I haven't like seen Blast play in a while, so I don't know how good he'll do. But I like it so far for challengers.
And I mean, we know Blast is talented. He's been in the league before. He was in the league in World War II with that complexity team and Doug, your boy Doug.
Yep, my boy Doug. Yep.
And I mean, Mohawk back to back champs. Saints won Cold War champs. We know Saints is a good slayer. And Decimate, like from my history in the podcast, all the listeners know I'm kind of a Decimate hater. I'm not a big fan of him, but he's a pretty good player, especially in challengers. He's a good search and destroy player.
Yep.
That'll probably be a pretty good roster, but enough of challengers. We got some pro rosters that have been announced. We got 2 confirmed rosters and 1 rumored. So Boston announced their roster of Methods, Big Wake, Nero, and Vivid. So they're essentially running it back, but switching in Wake for TJ. I can give my thoughts on it quick. I think that in the podcast in the past, I've talked about how I like always thought that Boston needed an uptick in slaying last year. I thought that that's what they were always missing. Like I think last year they were a pretty good search and destroy team and they were competitive in respawns, but I felt like with TJ, Nero, and Vivid, the slaying just wasn't there. Like I felt like when they played a team, like the upper echelon teams like Illy, Shotzi, Scump, or Simp,
Thieves.
Abezy, Cellium, yeah, like Thieves with Draza, Kenny, basically everybody but the main ARs. When you compared their flex and 2 subs to the other
Even
team's
Ultra
flex and 2
too.
subs, yeah, like they were just behind on slaying, and I feel like I don't know that Big Wake is like gonna make them a top 4 team, but he definitely is a better slayer than TJ and is gonna help them compete a little bit. So I like the roster upgrade, but I don't know if I'm like overwhelmed by it because they didn't see crazy success
Yeah.
last year and they're keeping 3 of the 4 players.
Uh, yeah, I like it, but they're probably still at the same boat as last year, top 6.
Yeah, fighting for like that 6 through 8 range,
Yeah,
trying to make it to
might
champs.
might get to top 3, lucky, but
Yeah, I could see because they got what? They got a top 3 at the event that we were at in Minnesota, didn't they? I think they were in losers finals.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they were in losers finals because they made it all the way to winners with like a really easy bracket or something.
yeah. They played
Yeah,
Florida or something.
yeah. I mean, I could see them. I don't see this roster being bad at all, though. I really feel like this is a roster that's like pretty much a lock to be in that like 6 to 8 range, like competing for the playoffs. But like, I mean, they were an 8 seed this year and they took Thieves to Game 5, Round 11,
Hmm.
in round 1 or a 6 seed or whatever they were, not
Yeah,
an 8 seed. But yeah,
and
I like
Thieves
the
with it.
roster. Yeah. Next roster is Rumor, Paris, or Vegas, I guess now. Um, rumored roster of Clay, Temp, TJ, and then either Prolute or Venom. So it sounds like Clay, Temp, and TJ are like pretty much a lock to be on the roster. And then obviously Temp is, and it sounds like Clay and TJ are basically locks. And then it sounds like based on what I had read that Prolute is the most likely fourth, but it could also be Venom. I kind of have my thoughts on this roster, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Roster, I don't really know. Does Pro really play like sub?
I thought in
Is-
the past he played sub, but like on Optic this year he played flex to fill in for
Yeah,
Billy.
but TJ back on the sub would be really helpful for his career, I would say, honestly.
I think so too. I
Is
think
he not
that
really much of a Slane guy anymore?
no, and I think TJ reminds me a lot of Bance in a way. Maybe not communication level, but like play style. I feel like TJ is kind of more of a ratty player that has like pop off ability. Like TJ could randomly pop like a 7 streak and get streaks.
Yeah.
But like most times I feel like he's going to be around a 1, but I feel like he makes a lot of the correct plays in the map.
Yeah, when you search and destroys, that's for sure.
Yeah. I honestly like okay, I feel like we have to look at it through a Paris lens. Like if I'm looking at this roster for like a team, like if LAG or like one of the higher money teams were to put together this roster, or like any other franchise was to put together this roster and show it to me, I'd be like, nah, I'm kind of underwhelmed. But since this is Paris, I feel like
Yeah.
this is kind of a massive W because it seems like a lot better than any roster I've ever seen from Paris.
The
I guess
best
in my opinion.
roster.
Yeah, it's probably the best roster they've had, right? I mean, they have
Mhm.
one of the top 5 probably players of all time in Clay, Temp, who's a pretty elite level Slayer. TJ, feel like is a higher caliber sub than they normally have, especially when you compare it to their subs from last year. And I don't know, I think I prefer Prolute over Venom, and I think Prolute's kind of the X factor with this team because I feel like you know what you're going to get out of Clay. Temp is just going to have to be a superstar, or this team's not going to be successful. And I feel like
Yeah.
you can kind of rely on TJ to be consistent, but I feel like their pop off sub that can kind of hard carry at times is going to have to be like Prolute.
I guess we'll see.
And I don't know if Prolute has that in him either. So this team, I think, is probably like a team that's fighting to try to get that 8 seed or something. But I mean, I would say Paris hasn't even put up a fight for the 8 seed ever. So if they're even competing for it, it's probably an
W
upgrade
for them.
yeah. And then Brock's team, Florida. You guys will start to learn Brock. You guys know my favorite players. You know, I'm a big Kenny fan. I like Methods a lot, but you guys will start to learn Brock's favorite players. Brock absolutely loves Dave Patty. He unfortunately is not starting on Florida. Their starting roster is kind of a head scratcher. It's confirmed though. It's Major Maniac, Brack, Vickle, and Havoc. Kind of a head scratcher for me though. What do you think?
Yeah, the only person I really like on this team is Major Maniac because he's very typical of a
Yeah,
player.
Majors. Yeah, he's
Brack,
never gonna let you down.
he was good at Black Ops 4, but that's the last time we've seen him in the pro scene.
Yeah,
And Vickle, he's won a lot, but he didn't win the big one in the challenges. And Havoc is just
crumbles on land.
Yeah, I don't know about Havoc. Going back to
I
Florida too. It didn't work out the first time.
I just like. I feel like I think Florida is a team. I don't know. We don't know because they don't release like salary info. But I for some reason I kind of have this like feeling that Florida is a team that spends less because they really haven't put together too crazy of a roster since like MW in the middle of the year when they were able to pick up Big Wake and Pharaoh to add them with like Skies and stuff. And I mean, obviously Pharaoh, rest in peace, incredible player. Awakening was an incredible player coming up then, and Skies was an incredible player. So like that roster was very, very good. And then it had good support players on it like Havoc. But since then, like last year, the roster was overall kind of underwhelming through ARs. They were like okay at times, but didn't really have ever like that high of a ceiling. This roster though, it's like I like Major Maniac. I think he's a good player, but like Brack, like you said, we haven't seen him since BO4, and he was good in BO4 on that LG team, but like we haven't seen a lot of him since. And
I don't think they're gonna do that great. Probably get a change at the first one or two majors.
And Brack is like, from everything we've heard since he's been in challenges, he's basically been a main AR. And we know Major Maniac's like fault in his game is that he's so slow. And if Brack's also going to be a slow main, I feel like this team is going to rely so much on Vickle and Havoc to like outslay the other subs. And like, I feel like Vickle's very talented. We've heard so much about him, but we don't know that he's going to translate to the pro league. And Havoc, we know what he is. Like, he's not a super high upside slayer. So I don't know. I feel like this team's going to have to be a search and destroy team if they want to be successful.
Yeah. Pacing issues too, probably, I would say.
Super slow ARs. And I mean, would you agree though? This is a team that the only way I see them being successful is they have to be like the best search team. They have to dominate in search.
Yeah.
It's kind of
a
weird.
hard point.
It's kind of weird though that we just talked about 3 rosters, and I actually don't think the Paris or Vegas one is the worst one. That's
Yeah,
like
it
probably
is
the
kind
first
of
time ever.
shocking for once.
That's probably the first time ever.
Paris on the up, doggy temp going crazy now.
Paris going from 12 to 11.
Probably 10. Come on now.
Yeah, they could be ahead of London, I guess. We haven't really talked about London, but I guess we could talk about them quick if we wanted. That was the one we didn't have like written down to talk about, but we do have like a rumored roster for them of Zero, Paul, Nasty, and Asim. I guess I like this roster more than Florida for sure. I'm a big Zero fan. I really think he's a good steady man AR. I think he's a good in-game leader. I also think Paul has some pretty good talent for a flex. I think this AR duo can slay with a lot of AR duos. And I also think Paul's very good at running a sub where like I don't know that I trust a guy like Brack to run a sub if it becomes a 3 sub meta.
Yeah.
Where like Wake and Temp on Paris and Boston, I trust them to run a sub. I don't necessarily trust Brack, but I do trust Paul to run a sub. And then I think Asim and Nasty is an interesting sub duo because from what we know, Nasty is willing to do the dirty work. We know Asim is willing to do the dirty work. So like
the routes.
And I feel like this sub duo is going to play very well together. Nasty being a little more methodical, and we've heard that he could be a good slayer. He wasn't last year because he was kind of doing a lot of the dirty work. But I don't know. I feel like this team has like sneaky potential to actually just have really good teamwork and be okay. But I don't think the ceiling is like crazy high.
It's honestly about Paul and how well he plays this year, honestly.
Because I think the other 3 are pretty consistent.
Yeah, you're no going to get from them.
But yeah, I just don't know that Paul can be a superstar that elevates them to like a top team.
If he does, though,
yeah,
I
feel like they're like a I feel like they're like maybe like a what? They're like another team that's in that like 7 to 10 range for me. They're fighting for the end of champs, probably, but nothing crazy. All right, moving on to that's all the rosters that are like new or new rumored or confirmed. One last little roster thing before we talk schedule, and then MW2 Gunless could potentially be forced to retire within like what the next week or so.
10 days, I think he said.
Yeah, and that was like what a couple days ago or something.
Yeah.
But he could be forced to retire if he doesn't get a sub spot or a starting spot, which doesn't sound like obviously at this point he's going to get a starting spot, but could potentially be forced to retire because of visa issues. Because I believe he's from Canada and had like a work visa or something to be living in the U.S. But now, since he technically doesn't have like an employment, they won't count like challengers as employment. I don't think he can't get sponsored for another visa. So he is in danger of having to
really
retire.
Unfortunate if that happens. He's always on, he's on some pretty good teams, and then he just health issues always pop up. It seems like for him,
health issues or like team issues or like it feels like he's gotten like. And I know like early in his career he might have done it to himself a little bit because like everybody had said he was kind of a toxic teammate and stuff. But lately, like the last couple issues don't really seem to be on him. Like he gets put in kind of a bad situation in Seattle where the team just wasn't that good. They struggle. He plays okay. And then last year, like he's an LAG. And I really feel like that team didn't get a fair shake because I actually thought that LAG team, like I like the roster with Hook and Asim and Slasher with him. I actually think that the roles made a lot of sense. I like that roster and like
he was also
like he never got a
really
chance.
Good actually. I think the best one on his team at the time.
Yeah, and they were struggling like team wise, but he was playing well. And then obviously the whole sickness comes through where he like can't even eat or like do anything. So I can't imagine it was easy to play. But like this is really gonna suck.
Scream or something like that too.
Yeah, like this sucks because like you're telling me that like he couldn't take that flex spot over Brack on Florida or something. Like Gunless is a very talented player.
Even a sub spot, like no one wants to give him a sub spot.
And he's a valuable sub too because like I feel like he is more leaning towards an AR player, but he is a true flex. Like in World War II, when he was at his best, he was a true flex and was maybe the best player in the game. And like, I feel like if you had to put him in a pinch because of like a COVID situation or like somebody was sick, like a couple times happened last year, he's got to play a match. Like I would trust Gunless to run either role in a pinch. I wouldn't want him to like run a sub long term probably, but like in a pinch, I trust him to run either. And I feel like having a flex as your bench player is just so valuable because you can throw him in either way.
Yeah. So someone should pick him up.
Somebody should 100% pick him up to at least force him to not retire because that would be another player gone way too soon. That's very talented.
Yeah, if worst case is like maybe wants to be a coach, so he can get on the team.
Somebody bring him on as like
force retire.
Yeah,
or go back to
get him on as like a pseudo coach and just so he can get his visa eligible.
Player coach.
Yeah, Bill Russell. No, that's about it for roster stuff. This is really not like crazy news that we have to talk a ton about, but I wanted to just mention it. Because it is, a lot of times, especially on the podcast, Brock isn't as familiar with this, but there's so many negatives that the CDL does and like Call of Duty does. We're always harping on negative stuff, but we finally got like something somewhat positive, so we gotta talk about that to lighten it up a little bit. The new season schedule's out for the 2023, I guess technically year of the CDL, or 2022, and it's starting December 2nd, which is a huge W for all of us because usually
God.
like the game comes out like late October, early November, and then we have to wait till like February, like 3-4 months for the first CDL action, which is just ridiculous because at that point, like any momentum the game had for like you and I are going to be people that are going to watch it all year regardless of how bad the game is, just because we love competitive COD. But like the casual fan, they might be done by Christmas if they don't like the game. Like they're just like screw this, and then why would they ever watch competitive? They don't play the game. They're a casual fan. They're never going to watch competitive. But I mean, the game drops like October 27th or 28th, and then about a month later, season starts.
Which is a W.
Yeah, and the schedule for the first 4 majors is out. First one is a new location, which is kind of cool. It's not going to any franchise. It's going to Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's going to be a Pro-Am style tournament. I think it's going to be somewhat like last year, maybe like 4 AM teams qualify through like some tournament probably, and then probably like a pool play into bracket. And hopefully they have like a full-fledged fans there in like the arena. Maybe it'll be in the, I know Halo had a tournament in Raleigh to start the Infinite year. So like hopefully it'll be something like that.
Probably there, yeah.
Yeah, because like last Pro-Am, it was cool that they had a Pro-Am, but there was no crowd at last year's Pro-Am. So they were literally just like playing at a LAN center, like sitting right next to each other playing. Like that wasn't as cool because it's way cooler with a crowd.
Yeah.
And then Major 2 is in Boston. We saw Boston throw a successful Challengers event last year, so it probably was like a test for them to see if they could host an event. And Boston, I feel like, would be a very cool city to travel to. Major 3 is Optic, Major 4 NYSL, and then Major 5/Champs is still to be determined. But apparently, Champs might be in mid-June this year instead of mid to late August. I wish. Actually, I don't know if I wish because I want to be able to travel to Champs this year. And if it's in London, I'm probably not going to want to pay to go across the seas.
True. Yeah. I think also for Major 1, the Raleigh one, their CDL points are on the line for pro teams.
I wonder how it's going to work. So like if a AM team finishes 3rd, like the points for 3rd are just like null. Nobody gets them probably.
I would assume so. Just like get the prize pool.
Imagine if they did like some weird stuff like they do with pro points where like if your AM team finished 3rd, you all get that amount of CDL points and you get to carry them with you to whatever team you join.
That'd be funny.
You could just like pick somebody up to make sure you make champs. That'd be wild. That definitely would not happen, but that'd be wild.
That'd be very interesting for the pickups for champs.
Any specific major you're particularly interested? I mean, like Brock and I and one of our other friends went to the Minnesota major. You guys know I went to Minnesota major, been to BO4 champs, and then I went to the launch weekend event in Minnesota. Any particular event you're looking at? I mean, I guess both of us are probably looking to go to champs this year. We'd love to go to champs, but like if we count just major 1 through 4, how about that? Because we don't know where 5 or champs are.
Honestly, the one that I would most likely go to this year would probably be Texas.
Yeah, and that's probably a good time too, because they all know we're in Wisconsin, and what Major 3, if the season starts in December, it probably a couple months later. Major 3 is probably what, like March. So it could still be kind of cold here. Maybe get down to Texas, get a little warm.
Yeah, that'll be good to go to.
Yeah, and I feel like
any trying to go to a cold place.
I mean,
cold here.
Boston will probably be cold because Major 2 will probably be like February.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting for people.
I'll never forget when my college roommate and I went to the Minnesota launch weekend. It was a blizzard, like a literal blizzard. We were walking downtown through like a foot of snow on the sidewalks as they weren't cleared. That was like, I don't know who decided to have the opening event in Minnesota in January. That wasn't the brightest idea, but
all places are for real.
But yeah, I honestly think Raleigh would be pretty cool to go to just because it'd be a neutral event and it wouldn't be like hosted by any team. So that'd be kind of cool. I mean, it'll probably be dominated by like Optic fans anyways, but like it was wild to see like when we were at the Minnesota event, like when it was Minnesota versus Optic, I swear there was like twice as much Minnesota fans in the room as Optic fans.
For sure, yeah.
Which was like sick to see because you never see that.
Minnesota fans are out fanning the Optic fans.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe Major 5 will be in Minnesota.
I think on their press conference they said that they're not hosting an event this year. But They did say that they wanted to do. I talked about this on one of the other podcasts. They wanted to do like a. I thought this would be cool for us. They wanted to do like a activation plan because like Minnesota's been really good about creating new fans and like interacting with like the community in Minnesota. They apparently were doing like an activation plan this year where they wanted to test it out. They wanted to like host their matches, their online matches on LAN against certain teams, like have them travel out. They only had one match that week. Have them like travel out, put them up in like hotels or whatever, and they wanted to travel like Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, because like Minnesota is the only one of those states like in this area to have a team. So they wanted to like travel around and like play their online matches on LAN and like different cities, like probably go to like Milwaukee and like I don't really know where in Iowa, like Chicago. Like, yeah, that'd be super cool. They like bring a traveling circus in, they like play one match. That'd be kind of cool. But I don't know. If I had to take a guess, I think Major 5 would shoot. I don't even know. Maybe LA. Because it's always a hot pick. I hope Champs isn't in LA though. I was talking about this with Maven on Twitter actually. I hope that Champs isn't in LA because like yeah, I get it. It's like the premier city and everything, but like it's so tough for like I traveled to LA for Champs and BO4. That was expensive. Like
yeah,
it's expensive to go to LA. Like I think it'd be kind of cool if they moved around. Like it's gonna be June too, so like it's not like weather's gonna be an issue anywhere. It's June. It's warm everywhere in the US in June. Like it's not gonna be bad weather. Bring it to Chicago or something like a neutral site. Chicago's a big enough city to hold it. Like, I feel like it probably will be a neutral site because it kind of was weird how it was basically a home event for Thieves.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for schedule. Next stuff that we have down before we jump into our tier list is basically MW2 stuff. So obviously MW2 is kind of a hot topic on Twitter right now. The beta for PlayStation was last weekend. Some positives that came out of it, but also it is an Infinity Ward and it's a slide cancel era, squad spawn era game. So there's probably some negatives as well. Kind of maybe flip flop between negatives and positives. First thing, domination could be the third mode potentially for the CDL, but the CDL commissioner kind of was like, please say psych. Somebody said to him, then he was like psych. So maybe it's not Dom.
I'm not
Dom is a snooze.
Trying to play domination.
The only thing that's worse, I mean, the only thing that's worse than watching domination is playing it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine for pubs.
For pubs, it's fine, but that's not really competitive, honestly.
I don't think it is either. I'd rather see, I know you're a CTF stan. I'd rather see CTF.
Let's bring it back like CTF.
I think Control might be the most entertaining third mode to watch. Still not great, but I don't hate watch. I mean, obviously Uplink is the most entertaining third mode to watch. But that's not going to happen. So
Uplink is Gridiron from World War II.
That was awful. I hate
Boots on the ground Uplink. That was hilarious to play.
But yeah, domination. I really hope it's not the third mode because I don't love like I think any of us when we load into rank play and we see Control, we're like, why can't that be search or hardpoint? Pretty much like we don't really want to play it, but like I think I'd much rather. I know I'd much rather be playing Control over domination. Like 100%. So hopefully that's not the case. But the commissioner gave us hope. He like said psych to whoever said that to him, and like I would assume that means either like Control or CTF, or unless they're planning to introduce like some brand new mode or something.
Yeah, maybe a new game mode somehow.
But I don't know. I'd be also scared to trust Infinity Ward to make a new mode for us.
Maybe the rescue mode, the new mode.
Oh my god, where you got to rescue someone like a prisoner. Could you imagine if they threw that in there? Maybe they'll do it like some of the pros were joking about last year, drop into Warzone for a Warzone 2 for a third map. Do a kill race.
It could be,
That'd be awful.
It'd be not fun to watch, that's for sure.
All right, next thing. This one's a positive, I think. I don't think anybody would say this is a negative. You can manually drop the bomb in search and destroy in MW2, which is like something that's similar to games like a Valorant, or I believe you could do that in CS as well. So like it's kind of a little more tactical because, you know, we've all had it happen when you're like playing with your buddies and somebody accidentally picks up the bomb and they go, shoot, I got the bomb. And it like chalks your whole round because the person's never used to carrying the bomb. And like,
or you get pushed into the bomb on accident while running.
Yeah. Or like, you realize like you kind of didn't realize you grabbed the bomb. You're not thinking, you're kind of just like, you're not playing super like hardcore. You're just kind of casually talking and playing ranked. And then you push into their spawn with the bomb. You're like, shoot, you could maybe like try to like backtrack and drop it for somebody and like stay pushed up, or like, we were talking about like if you get onto site and you want to push through, but you don't want to drop the bomb in their spawn, you can drop the bomb. Like I think it's something very like, it can be pretty tactical.
You could drop the bomb, then have then push up, have someone else grab bomb, plant it.
Yeah, Yeah, like if you're in
more
an
in that
advantageous position, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's a positive. I don't really see how it could be a negative unless it's like buggy or something in some way.
Yeah.
But like, I
I
feel
wonder if
like
you're
I'm
able to
pretty
throw
cool
the
with it.
bomb at all, like a couple feet,
Yeah, chuck it like relay the bomb over to the bomb site or something, so you don't have to
Yeah,
cross.
yeah, like a shield pot in Fortnite when they added that,
Oh yeah, that's
but
right.
not
I
as
forgot they
far,
added
not as
that.
far though.
Can't chuck it across the map.
Yeah.
Chuck it from A. Yeah, like on Bocage, you could hop on those stairs, chuck it from A to B.
Yep.
Um, Next thing, kind of a negative. Let's be honest. This one's wild to me too. The mini map is apparently going to be like MW pubs. When you shoot, you're not going to show up on the mini map. I would assume, obviously, like in competitive, for like our sake in competitive, it's obviously going to be normal. Like it wasn't MW. Like you
I
shoot,
would
you're
hope
still going to show
so.
up. Um, and then dead silence is a field upgrade, so not a perk. You're going to have super loud footsteps until you pop that. Uh, and they did this despite the community like apparently like 35 or 40% of the feedback they received was that they want the regular mini map and they want dead silence to be a perk, and they were just like, yeah, we acknowledge your feedback, but we're not going to change it. So off to a great start for the competitive fans this year.
Yeah, they don't care as much about us.
Yeah, it sucks though because like I don't know,
They could do
maybe
so
like
much more though too.
I
They
don't understand with the minimap thing. Like when I was an absolute bot and a noob at COD, like in Black Ops 1, the one thing that always helped me was when we called in a UAV or when people shot, I could like see where they were and like position myself to try to like get to a line of sight to see them.
Yeah,
Like I guess I don't know, maybe if somebody is like a complete new player, pubs player could try to explain to me and I'd understand it better, but I just feel like the red dots help you learn the game. Like, oh, people like I constantly see a red dot here when somebody's shooting. Like that must be a good spot to go to. Like when you're like a complete noob at the game and somebody's like camping in like a window or something, and you keep seeing
yeah,
them shooting up there and you keep seeing them getting kills in the kill feed, you might be like, hey, where are they at? Like I should probably go try to get to that power position. And you might learn about a head glitch or something, like stuff like that. Like it's like I feel like it helps newer players, not hurts them, right?
yeah. It would. I feel like it'd help them, but maybe if they're camping, they don't want to get seen the mini map. They shoot their gun.
Yeah, I mean, and
But that's what's for. That's not the sounds. Silencers for
yeah,
on it.
if you
But
don't want to be seen on the minimap, put a silencer on.
yeah, but I'm not Infinity Ward. But yeah,
And Joe Seacott and those guys were like, you could tell by the terminology they were using too. It's like they're developing the game and they don't even play COD. They were like, we want to punish rushers and like we want to like they were like calling like people that like just like to fly around the map rushers, and like they were like, we want to the more tactical players, and like they didn't want to say campers.
yeah,
Like they're just lost in terms of like I feel like if you set them down and put them on a controller like the devs, they would get absolutely world star by like the most basic casual player.
it would be that camper back of the
Yeah,
spawn to play
yeah.
more. Yeah,
Back to another positive though. Bloom could maybe be gone out of the game
oh,
potentially. I don't know if that's confirmed, but remember last
thank
year with the
thank the Lord
MP40?
if it is. Thank the
Yeah,
Lord if it is.
I mean the MP40 last year. How much of a mess was that? Like you'd be shooting a guy from like mid range, and like your gun, your ADS would be exactly on him, and you just whip every bullet.
Yeah, close range good. Like 20 meters. Yeah, it's chalked. Good look at
Yeah.
that.
So that's at least a positive. This is probably a negative for a lot of the community, but a positive for Brock specifically. If you guys ever, maybe we'll throw up some gameplay videos in the channel or something. But Shotzi apparently
Maybe.
found a slide cancel,
Let's go. I'm so happy about this.
and if you guys know the way that Brock plays, he tries to claim he's a main AR. That's like complete cap. Brock's like a main sub basically, and he likes to get cracked around the map. He was like the guy that was spamming L trigger faster than anybody in BO4 on the Maddox. He loves to slide cancel on the map on Vanguard. So like movement king is for Brock. So he loves to slide cancel.
I'm so happy Shotzi found that, and I can go try that in this weekend's beta.
It's something weird though, wasn't it? Wasn't it like you gotta like slide like YY or something? Which you're addicted to YY, and so this is like
It
the
was
slide
it
cancel
was
made for
like
you.
it was like really weird, but there's a lot of extra buttons than before. But
This is like made for you
I
though.
think we can figure it out though. Yeah.
If you have to if you have to slide cancel and you have to YY to do it, that's like you might be the best player in the game this year.
Yeah, I am addicted to YY, and that is
It's
true.
bad. You and Kenny are like the same. You had like the same amount of inputs on YY.
Yeah, he's a world champ though. No.
I guess. All right. Next thing, this better get changed. I know it was a thing in MW, but it better get changed. Apparently on a lot of the beta maps in Hardpoint, I think one of them had 5 hardpoints and the rest of them had like 6 or more.
I think
Like
one had 8.
yeah. What is that? I remember, well, don't you remember the story from MW when Slasher was like, we loaded into Hardpoint and now it was like P4 and he was like, okay, I guess it's going to P5. And then all of a sudden it went
Yeah.
to P6 and he was like, wait, what? And then it went to like 20 hardpoints.
Yeah, there's one that's like 20. Yeah, that's just,
Yeah,
don't need that
so
many. Five's
that's gotta
max. Five's
change.
good
Yeah.
enough.
I actually think I'd have to really go back and think about all the maps, but I think I prefer maps with 5 over 4. Um, I mean, that's like a complete like thing out of like nowhere. Like I could be completely lying right now into the mic, but I think I prefer maps with 5 usually, like a fifth hard point. But there are obviously some maps. I can't really think of one
Yeah.
off like the top of my head that is 4.
Every map should have a standard like 5 or like 4.
Yeah, or 4 or 5. It has to be 4 or 5. Obviously, nothing less, nothing more. But
Yeah.
and like it's so dumb when you do those like 8 hardpoint maps too, because like I was looking at it and like it's like 7 and 8 or whatever are in the buildings next to each other. So like it's kind of dumb because of like if you hold spawns well, you could just easily roll 120 in a row, and like it could
Hmm.
lead to cool comebacks. But like I don't want to see a team spawn out for a minute or 2 minutes straight and just run into gunfire. Like that's not going to make for an entertaining map.
If it's squad spawns, you can just spawn behind them, so that'll be good.
Yeah, it is squad spawns. It's another unfortunate thing.
Yeah, predict the
Um,
spawns.
yeah, that's us in Vanguard. We'd be all pushed out back coop on bow cage and say that hey, they're spawning out like kitchen, and then they'd spawn water behind us. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
that's
definitely me. I called the wrong spawn every time, half the time.
because you just don't know what's gonna happen.
It's random.
Yeah. Next thing, this kind of relates back to the manually dropping the bomb thing. This is also more similar to like a Valorant thing. Brock just played Val for the first time last night.
Oh,
And
that was an experience. Let me tell you that.
yeah, none of us are really keyboard and mouse. None of our friends are. We've all been like controller our whole life, but we've been learning Val. So like, I guess we could talk about this. Like, we understand a little bit more what it's like because I mean, we're not good Val players. Don't get it twisted. We're bad at Val, but we kind of understand the game a little bit. So like,
Yeah.
we understand more what this means. But like, apparently, there's a field upgrade in the game that is like a drone that drops like a smoke wall. I haven't seen how it works. I don't know how big the wall is. I don't know how like much control you have over placing it. So I really don't have much knowledge on it. But I thought it'd be something worth talking about. It's likely to be GA'd because it sounds kind of odd and we
Like
GA
OP.
everything. But like apparently it's like a smoke wall. Like if you guys play Val, so like a lot of characters have like a wall of like toxic smoke or like they can like throw smokes out. So like it seems like it'd be something that you could do to like completely smoke off across in a way.
Yeah.
And like
Um,
it could be really cool if done right, but they always have trouble with like
I would just
one way
see
smokes
how long it is and how big it is.
and how long it lasts.
Yeah, but let's just get rid of it already. Might as well
Yeah, I mean it's
go
probably
back
gonna
to
be.
the old smokes, but smokes are
The problem is
broken.
like that's what scares me about this too. Even if it's like a good tactic that can be used, like smokes are always just so broken in COD. Like they're always like, oh, way to one way them, or like
Yeah,
you just like throw them and like they're see through, or you can like see an aim, or like you don't get aim assists certain times and you do other times. Like for whatever reason, for how many years in a row, they like Call of Duty just can't get smokes right.
I don't know how they messed that one up for how long it was good, and then randomly just stopped working
Yeah, like one ways and
properly.
like it is kind of cheesy. Like if you can find a way to throw a smoke and like you can act like it's not there, but everybody else sees it. Like I can see why competitive integrity would be thrown out the
Yeah,
window from that.
I would lose full if that happened to me, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I think it did happen last year. Like it was like a Draza Simp beef.
Oh yeah,
Dra-
on bow cage when he
yeah,
did it,
Draza like one way
had
to
to
smoke, and
smoke
then
for
after that they got
himself.
GA'd.
Yeah,
I think that's about all we have for news, though. We're probably gonna cut out here for a second. I'm gonna pull up the tier list, and we're gonna dive into a tier list of all the teams for next year. We're gonna throw them on and
I'm
way
ready
too
for
early
that.
power rankings, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, so here we are with the tier list on the screen. As I said, not going to be a Vanguard tier list of all the players. We talked about that, but Vanguard's a little bit too past. I don't know how much interest there is in that right now, and like season's over, and it's over a month over, so I don't know how worthwhile it is ranking. Maybe in a few weeks or something, if we're really dead on news, we could just like go back and rank the players from that, or like rank
Yeah,
our thoughts on the players heading into the season. But it's a little dead. But on the screen, you see we've got a tier list for all the CDL teams. The way we're going to rank this is based on it's way too early. We're probably going to go back before the season and do this again, and things might shift a lot based on how teams look or how we're hearing they're doing in scrims and stuff. But we're just going to like our initial thoughts on the roster since they're all announced or rumored and go through and rank them in a tier list. We've got S, A, B, C, D. What team you want to start with, Brock?
just go with LA Thieves first off.
Okay, so I mean, I think in my opinion, LA Thieves they've got to be like the clear A or S tier, like one of the two. It's just kind of all a matter of how you project them. Like, do you give them the benefit of the doubt S tier because they won champs? Logical explanation, or do you think they're maybe going to fall off a little bit?
I think they will fall off a little bit because they have a ring now.
Yeah, and like it's so tough to go back to back, and like I mean the talent on this roster is no doubt like a top talent team.
Yeah,
They have talent to be a top team. There's like no question on that.
I'm thinking let's go A.
Okay, let's go A. I agree with that. Some people might be pissed that they're not an S, but I feel like I think there's a chance that they could be a B team because like for most of last year they were probably a B team. Like projecting them out, they could be like more of a middle of the pack team. I could easily see that happening, especially because MW2 seems like squad spawns and everything. Like seems like it might be a little bit of a fluky year again. And I think a lot of other teams did get better. But like I feel like it'd be pretty disrespectful and dumb to not have them in at least A, considering they're coming off back-to-back championships.
Probably no. They could be a D team.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
just don't know yet.
you don't know yet, but I feel like since they're coming off back-to-back in the talent on the roster, we gotta have them in at least A. So we'll throw them in A.
For now.
Where are we going next?
Let's go South Surge.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
I wish they would have got Arcitys.
I mean, at times last year, they looked like an S tier team, and other times they looked like a D tier team.
Yeah,
Like they were at both extremes. Like at Major 3, when they won it, they seemed like they could potentially be the best team in the game coming out of there, and then they just like flopped going into Major 4, and then at Champs they looked really good again. Like they had a chance to go into the finals at Champs.
Pick your poison. Did it go one time, one major, next major, 12.
And it's like, where do we think they're going to go? Like, I don't think accuracy is going to be significantly better or worse. Like, he's a pretty consistent player. I think he's going to be roughly the same. Mac is kind of the same way. He's pretty inconsistent, but I trust him as a reliable player. Pred, like, is Pred going to be that good again? Like, I don't know. Pred's an incredible player.
He was really good last year.
Yeah, he's an incredible player, but like to match what he did last year, it's like he could be amazing next year and not match what he did in Vanguard.
I say we put him in B.
I don't hate B. I feel like they're a high B, low A to me right now. I really like the talent on their roster.
Yeah.
And like they are sticking together, which sometimes we frown upon, but other times like it could be good for their chemistry.
Yeah, it do help.
I think the roster kind of comes down to Sib to me though.
Yeah, Sib and
Pred really.
How well they perform.
Because I think like we know we're gonna get out of accuracy and Mac. They're gonna be pretty consistent. They're gonna have their downfalls, but they're also gonna have their accuracy clutch moments in search, and Mac's gonna have his pop off moments in respawn.
Sib just can't go negative, neg 10.
Yeah,
they're losing.
He had his struggle games, and like Pred and Sib basically can't struggle. They're gonna have a lot on their shoulders to slay. But if those two are playing up to their peak, they're a team that could win events.
They can definitely win it all if they are all playing like really good.
Yeah, 100%. All right,
especially Mac. He's underrated, honestly.
Mac is he reminds me somewhat, maybe not playstyle, but like the type of player I think of him in my mind. He reminds me maybe of like a little better version currently of like Tej, where like he has some maps where it's like, oh my god, that was an awful map from Mac, and then he has some maps like World War II Tej where it was like he was hard carrying. Like there was a point early in the year last year where I was consistently saying that Mac was the best player on their team before Pred really had his like takeoff.
Yeah, Mac did play for the most part pretty good the whole year.
Yeah, I have faith in them. I feel like B is a fair rating, but I could even see them being an A, and maybe we'll move them around if we start to realize that they're higher than some teams as we add more in.
All right, we should go with Paris next.
Paris or Vegas, whatever you want to call them.
Vegas Legion, my bad, not Paris.
I feel like it's like a knee jerk reaction for me to just like throw them in D, right there in D, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like depending on where we want to put every other team, they could definitely be in D, but I actually don't hate them in C tier, bottom of C.
Yeah, CC.
I'll go wherever you want. You're the guest. You're the new guest on the podcast.
Let's go see.
All right.
I have faith in Clay and Donnie.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean,
Tej will be there too.
I've been proven wrong last year because, like, in the beginning of the year, when Kyle and I were talking about teams, when we talked about New York, I said it's a team with Clay and Crim. There's just no way that they're worse than, like, middle of the pack or, like, bottom middle. And, I mean, they were the worst team in the league. They were worse than Paris. So I've been wrong before about, like, trusting the vets, but, like, I don't know. Like, a team with Clay, Temp, Tej as, like, a foundation, I feel like they maybe don't have a high ceiling, but they can't be, like, the worst team, right?
No, they can't be. It's all upgrades from last year, so
yeah, and like
even if last year for the most part,
even if they end up being like the worst team in the league, I still don't think I would go back on this and be like, why did I put them in C? Because like I mean, putting my faith in Clay and Temp, I feel like that's a pretty decent spot to put your faith. Like they have a pretty okay team as long as they can just mesh and have some good chemistry. Like I don't hate it at all.
Yeah, I think C is good.
Okay, well let's stick them in C then.
Well, let's go to Florida Mutineers next.
Oh, speaking of the C and D debate, they're right in there.
Yeah,
I have my opinion. I want to hear what you have to say.
Florida. I just don't think I can put them in D because they have Major Maniac on the team.
Oh man, I want to put them in D really bad because if Florida doesn't go into D, I don't think any team does.
Like a C minus.
Nope, we're not making new tiers. We're not doing it. I was about to say yes, but nah. I
But
feel like either them or Paris have to go in D. They have to. Because if we don't put Florida or Paris in, I don't, unless you have a completely different opinion than me, I don't think a single team goes in D if it's not Florida or Paris.
yeah.
I don't know. I just like, let's compare the two teams. Who do you have more faith in, Clay or Major? Current form, obviously all-time Clay, but
all-time Clay, current Major.
I feel like I can get behind that. I think I lean more towards Clay though. Clay Revenge Tour, we've seen it a million times. Clay's pretty good recent Revenge Tour. Compare their flexes, Donnie versus who's Floor's flex? I'm like blanking. Oh yeah, I'll take Donnie.
Yeah, the Donnie, even though I like Brack.
And then like I don't know, TJ versus Vickle, or like their subs, like TJ and let's say Prolute versus Vickle and Havoc. I'm not super inclined to lean one way.
I don't trust Havoc on LAN. Only on online.
I feel like Vickle might be the best of the four because he has such a high like unknown ceiling.
Yeah,
like he might have the highest ceiling, but like I'm not like sitting here clearly thinking that one's better than the other. But like AR duo, I think I lean towards Paris. Like I'll take Clay and Donnie over Brack and Major.
Yeah, probably because we just haven't seen like Brack in the challenges for so long now.
I want to put him in D tier just so we have a D tier.
Yeah, put him in D for now.
I feel like they. But I also feel safe like putting him there. Yeah, we'll see about that. Why? Because they're gonna summon Dave.
Yep, Dave's coming in Revenge Tour.
I mean, I feel like they could move up, but like I feel pretty confident. Like, who would I be more shocked if they rose to B tier? If they both kept the same rosters, I'd be a lot more shocked if Florida rose to B than Paris. Because like if you told me Vegas rose to B tier, I'd be like, yeah, they have Temp and Clay. That makes sense that team is like gotten to middle of the pack. But if you told me the team with Major, Brack, and Havoc went to like B tier, I'd be like, okay, like I mean maybe like Havoc and Major are okay, but I don't know. We're splitting hairs here with the bottom tier.
Well, we'll just go D for now.
All right, and we're gonna update this probably as the season gets closer and we start to learn more about teams, because maybe MW2 is Brack's game or something, or like some of these random players. You know, players have pop off games. Maybe it'll be one of their games.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Let's go on to the New York Subliners.
All right, so this roster is, what was it? Sky's main, Priesta, Flex, and then Hydra and Kismet on the subs.
Yep.
Oh boy, I like this team. To me, they're in like the AB range. I don't know if you feel differently or if they're lower, but I like Sky's very talented main.
Is it Sky's main?
Yeah, Sky's main, Priesta, Flex. I feel like the roles in this team make a lot of sense as well.
They do.
I feel like Kismet's a pretty heavy entry type player. Hydra's obviously more of like a slayer. Skies is a good steady slaying man AR, and Priesta is a pretty natural flex, can run both guns.
Yeah.
I guess my concern here is what leadership, in-game leadership.
Yeah, well, I think Skies might have to take that over.
And I don't know that Skies can't do it, but I don't think of Skies as a guy that's an IGL typically when I think of them.
Yeah, or maybe Priesta will take over.
Yeah, Priest is a vet, and I mean was with Crowder forever. We know Crowder, one of the best coaches. I could see that being a thing. I feel like this team has potential top end ability. Like I can see the slaying upside with like Skies and Priesta and Hydra, and even Kismet. At sometimes at the end of last year, Kismet was popping off.
He was best one on the team some of the series.
Yeah,
we should put him in B.
I don't mind B. I feel like they're a team that could definitely rise.
Middle of the pack.
Yeah, I don't mind B. I like that. All right, where are we going next? We're gonna let you pick every time.
All right, we're gonna go to the Minnesota Rocker.
Oh boy. If you guys are listeners to the podcast, you guys know I'm kind of a Rocker stan, so I might have to fight Brock on this one.
I like him
We'll see.
too.
I
like some of the players.
I know,
aka Cammy.
and Brock and Kyle don't really know each other well or anything, but Kyle is the ultimate Rocker stan. Like, we tweet at Kyle all the time when Rocker's doing well. He is like the Rockers' #1 fan. And I like this Rocker team a lot, and like, I've even tweeted, I've said in the podcast, like, I'm probably gonna, I try to have no bias. I try to say I have no favorite team when I do the podcast, but like, Rocker, like, this might low key be my favorite team this year.
A lot of star power.
I mean, I love Attach, one of my favorite players, the iciest player in the league. I love Cammy.
He wins your ones.
Cammy also like has MVP potential. We saw it in Cold War. I like the prospect of, oh my god, I'm blanking. Bance and Afro. Yeah. I think Afro's got crazy slaying upside as a sub, and Bance, good IGL ability. Like, he's always going to make the right play. I feel like Attach and Bance as a duo, leading in the game, they can bounce ideas off each other. Like, I really like this team.
I think Afro and Bance might be better than Bance and Clemix.
They might be. It's. I mean, like, obviously the Bance like wash, and I mean, Clemix and Afro are, in my opinion, are both top subs.
Yeah.
And I think the playstyle is slightly different. Like, Clemix is a little faster and in your face. Afro is fast, but maybe not as in your face. And I think maybe
more methodical.
And I think maybe him and Bance will play better off each other because of that. They're more closer to the same speed.
Yeah.
I kind of like him in A.
Yeah, A.
I like him in A. I'm not really putting them in order, like inside of the tiers, just kind of throw them in the tiers. So like, they're below Thieves on here, but we're not really throwing them too much in order yet, unless we want to do that at the end maybe or something.
The idea of Bance will come in handy.
Yeah, I like the team a lot. I'd be really disappointed if they aren't a very good team, especially because like, they're the team in our region up here, kind of like the Midwest. So I have like, a little bias towards them for that too. Until Milwaukee gets a team, until the Bucks buy a team.
Hopefully soon.
All right, who are we going to next?
We're going to the London Royal Ravens.
Okay,
is going to be.
Yeah, I wish. So this one's got a little bit of an asterisk, obviously, because this isn't like an official roster. Not 100% confirmed. It could change, but like, what the rumor is, what Zero Paul, Asem, and Nasty.
Yep, Zero Paul, Asem, and Nasty.
Not a bad roster, but it doesn't like wow me. They like seem like a straight C to me.
Yeah, it seems like basically the same. They'd be the same as last year.
Maybe a
little bit worse depending on how the players play.
Yeah, like 0 to 0 is obviously a wash. I almost feel like Paul over Gizmo might be an upgrade.
It can be, but sometimes we've seen Paul just not do good at all.
Down the stretch last year, Paul was like not very good stats wise, but also we know like the inner workings of that team were awful, and we've seen Paul be very good at times. I don't know. I feel like I prefer Paul over Gizmo. Obviously, Zero's a wash, Nasty's a wash, and then Asem compared to Afro. I think I lean Afro, but I like a lot of the things Asem does in the map. I think Asem's the guy that if he's on your team, you just absolutely love that he's on your team because he just like takes so much pressure off his teammates.
Yeah, Asem, it'll help Nasty this year.
Yeah, I think we'll see Nasty stats go up, and because we heard how like Nasty was like such an incredible player coming out of Challengers, and like he looked good last year, but he wasn't like the slaying upside beast that we had heard.
Like, I think he was maybe trying to do too much sometimes.
Yeah, especially when they got to LAN and like you're struggling and you keep hearing that you can't win on LAN. Maybe you're just trying to do a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I like him in C though.
Yeah, C.
I feel like, but I do feel like they have an upside, and I don't know. I feel like this team is gonna be at least able to be like consistently competitive. Like, I don't see them just like getting dominated throughout the year by any means.
Yeah.
All
right.
Next, we got some big dogs like Faze and Optic out there. Should we tackle one of them?
We'll go Ultra first.
Oh, this is your other team you used to stand. I don't know if you can stand them as much anymore because you were a big Cammy guy.
I know, but Cammy left.
Yeah, I like the roster a lot though.
Yeah, Scrappy, Insight, Clemix, and Standy.
Yeah, so basically what they keep Insight and Clemix, those are kind of a wash. Then Standy to Bance. Also, again, kind of a similar playstyle. Standy is more of like a ratty type sub.
Yeah. I think Standy and Clemix will do very good this year. But I don't know.
I think it's a good duo. And Scrappy, I mean, he has all the talent in the world.
Yeah. What Insight coming? I'm assuming.
Yeah, probably Insight IGL. I mean, they lose Bance, so that's a big hit because Bance is kind of like the leader of the team. So that is a big hit.
Yeah.
I would say that.
I think they're gonna go B.
Think B. I like B. We can put them in B. I do feel like they're a team that
Solid B.
I feel like they're a
B
team that has
plus two.
potential to
Could
get
be.
to A at some point, and I don't feel like there's that much potential that they drop down because I do feel like they have so much talent.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to be a good search team again, unless Bance and Cammy were absolutely like crucial to their search. Another thing that we haven't thought about, I actually just thought about this. Like we didn't talk about this before the pod or anything. We haven't thought about it, but like one thing that is really big, depending on what the game is like if these teams have good snipers for search and destroy. Like it hasn't had an impact much, but like a team like Minnesota, I know Attach can really snipe. Cammy can really snipe. Cammy is a top sniper in MW. On Thieves, Octane has always been a pretty good sniper.
Sib on Seattle.
Yeah, Sib. He can snipe. I know Zero can also snipe. He was like one of the top KDs as a sniper. Clay had always sniped in the past. On Optic, obviously, Dashy, incredible sniper. On Faze, Simp, incredible sniper. That's kind of like something to always watch out for because like you never know when all of a sudden the snipers are going to be usable again.
Yeah. Let's go to Optic Texas.
Optic Texas. I mean, the talent obviously on the roster is a potential S tier roster, but I'm kind of reserving S tier for the one team. I think everybody knows who it is, so I don't think I can put Optic in S tier. And I do think they're A tier though.
They are A tier.
Yeah, I like them in
S tier, depending how injuries or health this year.
Yeah,
because last
we
year
saw them dominate Faze when they were healthy last year. Like they dominated Faze.
Yeah, they're on like a 11-game win streak or something like that.
Yeah. And then they had like a 5-game win streak against Faze. And like 2 of the matches, one was with ProLoot and one was with General. Like overall, they just owned Faze for a lot of last year.
Yeah, they did. They're very unfortunate last year from Italy, though.
Yeah. But I think talent-wise, they're probably almost second to none or like maybe second to Faze in terms of just pure raw talent. I mean, I think Shotzzy, MVP candidate, Dashy, MVP candidate, Scump, about as consistent as they come. And Illy, maybe not MVP candidate, but like one of the smartest players in game. I guess maybe your only question with them, your only question would maybe be IGL since Illy is a little bit less experienced, but like Scump has a lot of experience. Even Dashy has played for a while now. I mean, Shotzi's a world champ. Like he knows how to get things done. Illy's a world champ, and we know how smart he is in game. Like I feel like this team with a full year is going to be a minimum of an A, and like this is a team that's going to compete for a championship every time they're out there.
Full year of no distractions.
I mean, seems like they haven't had that in a long time. But this is a team that can certainly be up there, and I'd say they're, unless something crazy happens, they should be up there with the favorites to win every event.
Yeah, just probably not second, like Faze last year.
Consistent second.
Yeah. Let's go to Boston. The Boston Breach.
So Boston basically returning the same roster, except Big Wake is subbed in for Mr. TJ.
Boston's just like they're like a middle of pack B size.
Yeah, they're like the BC range to me.
Yeah,
they're like kind of on the line because like when I look at the teams, I definitely think they're above like Vegas and London, but I also think I'd probably put them below Ultra, Seattle, and New York.
Yeah,
they're like right now with our tiers, they're like dead in the middle to me.
Yeah,
I don't know what side of the line I lean on though. I feel like you almost have to put them in B because they were so consistently a top 8 team last year, and I feel like they upgraded.
Yeah, they upgraded Slane.
Yeah, they upgrade. Like I think Wake at this point in his career is an upgrade over TJ.
Yeah,
like I feel like you almost have to throw them into B tier maybe because like they were always top 8 and then they upgraded. So like we maybe think they're like what, maybe 6th or 7th this year.
Unless it's Zinni's year, then we'll put him in S.
Yeah. I mean, when we were at the event, he was the number 1 hardpoint KD, number 1 search KD, number 1 control KD.
Yeah. He's over everything.
Yeah. What do you want? We'll go with what you want. B or C? I feel like they're right on the line for me.
Let's go B. Let's go B, but like they're not probably gonna beat Seattle Ultra.
I mean, with where we're putting them now, I think everybody knows we're gonna have Faze above B tier. So that puts 3 teams at least, or 4 teams at least above them. And then also we said that we think Surge, Ultra, and Subliners are probably better. So that would already put Boston at like 7, which I think is a realistic range for them.
Top 6, 7,
Yeah.
middle pack. Yeah.
All right, which team are we going with? The team that Arcitys just joined or the team that he just left?
We're going with the LA Gorillas.
All right. LA Gorillas, I feel like they're either
I like this team.
Okay, so you like them a lot. To me, I think they're either right ahead of Boston or right behind Boston.
You think so?
Or you think they're higher?
I want to put them in A for some reason. I don't know why.
They have the potential to be there.
RC's
I just like
French tour.
I just don't know that like I can put them up there because the team is like literally the team from the end of last year, but Arcitys instead of Slasher, and they couldn't qualify for champs.
Yeah.
Like, granted, they had a very tough road. I can't remember who they lost to, but then they got eliminated by Faze. So like it was a tough road. In order to qualify in that last event, but like they won an event last year and couldn't qualify for champs.
Yeah, it just
I do think that the roster has potential though.
Something about them.
Well, and they've been talking about like the Neptune, Hook, and Spart trio has been like playing like search wagers on Cold War nonstop this whole offseason. They like love playing together and stuff.
Yeah, I heard Neptune's a Cold War grinder.
Yeah, so like I definitely see the potential.
Cold War, unfortunately.
Yeah. And like I definitely see the potential, but like I don't think Arcitys is a massive upgrade over Slasher. I think they're honestly pretty much kind of a wash.
Yeah.
Like it just depends on intangibles really, because I think like skill wise they're both very, very, very good. I don't know. I just like to me, Surge and Ultra are ahead of them. And we have them both in B.
I wish it was like a B plus, but there's no B plus. Let's put them in B, but ahead of like Boston.
You want me to put them at the top of B just for you?
Yeah.
All right, I'll put them at the top of B just for you.
If I'm wrong, I'll hold the L.
I mean, I feel like they're a team that is like pretty safe in B though, because like I mean they have Hook and Arcitys in their team, and even like Spartan, Neptune are very talented players. Like I don't see a way that this team's like bottom.
Yeah.
But I also can very easily see a world where they go to the middle of the pack because that's what they were for the lot last year with almost the same roster. I mean, I guess they didn't really have Neptune for a good portion of it and even Spart, but like, I don't know. I definitely see where you're coming from. I don't think it's like wild to have them in A.
Yeah.
I can see the argument for it. I just like, to me, I put Surge over them 100%. So like, if we can't put Surge in A, then I don't want to put LAG in A.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because I like Surge a lot. And then our last team, Faze.
AF, Atlanta Faze.
Are they just shot up into S tier? Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before we hit record on the tier list, and like Brock was saying, maybe we put like Thieves alone in S tier, but like it's almost impossible not to have Faze in S tier alone, or maybe with Thieves because they're defending champs. Like Faze was, you could argue they were the best team all year last year, like in terms of the entire season. Because like I don't think you could say Thieves is the best team like throughout the year, because Thieves was incredible, the best team at the end, no doubt. But like for the first 3 stages, Thieves was not very good. And Faze was second every freaking time, every major they were just second, except for one. Like they were just an incredible team all year. And I mean, like Simp and Abezy, unless you have some argument I can't think of, they're pretty much the no doubt best sub duo in the game. The best sub duo of all time.
Yes.
Cellium, unless you have an argument for that one, probably the best flex in the game.
Phase up. You can do it too.
Yeah, so best sub duo, best flex, and I don't think I'd consider Slasher the best main, but I'd consider Slasher probably a top 5-6 main for sure, top half of the league main.
Great leader.
And probably pretty similar to Arcitys in terms of like skill. I wouldn't say they're far off from each other. Maybe one's a little better than the other, but not far off.
Something about Slasher though, you just get this teams to buy in.
Yeah, and like he hasn't seen a lot of success really since the franchise there. Like on Optic, they struggled in MW, and then Cold War, the Thieves team kind of struggled, and he was benched. But like this is the time, and I feel like his intense leadership style, if he would have had Simp and Abezy and Cellium maybe like a couple of years ago, might not have worked. But I feel like they're like after last year's nonsense of them not winning, I feel like those three have got to be ready to just like lock in. So I feel like Slasher's kind of no BS style might be good for them this year, and maybe they'll buy in a little easier.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be a possibility. I like the roster.
Depends on the game. You know, if Simp or Abezy doesn't really like the game, it's gonna hurt.
I think there's a pretty good chance that they don't like the game too. I think it's be pretty similar to the old Vanguard.
Yeah, you know, Abezy like that game.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, maybe that could affect them, but I feel like at some point they're going to get really motivated to start winning again. Because I mean, these are players that like the caliber of players these guys are. Like you can make an argument they should be winning multiple championships every year, and that might be a harsh standard to hold them to. But like we're talking like Simp, Abezy, Cellium, like players that have a chance to go down as like top 5 players ever, maybe greatest player ever.
One of the best trios ever.
Yeah, like Simp and Abezy are pretty much already the best duo of all time, and like. I mean, you can make an argument legit that like Simp has a chance to go down as the best player to ever live. You could make an argument that Abezy could be like the best entry sub if he isn't already, or like a top 5 player. Even Cellium and Slasher with another ring or two of this team, you could say he's creeping towards the top 5 because he'd be one of the main ARs with the most rings, along with like Arcitys and Clay. Like,
yeah,
this team is incredible.
This is a very good team.
You got any gripes with the tier list? Anyone? I mean, I know you kind of want LAG up in A. I kind of want Surge up in A. So I feel like that kind of washes out. But I also don't want to throw both of them in A because that means we have half the league in A or S.
Yeah. Honestly, I think this tier list is good so far for right now.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty safe. I mean, there's probably going to be a team that we have in A or B that ends up being D tier, and probably one of our C or D teams is going to end up like A or B. Like, there's always going to be some things that switch, and this is like a way, way, way too early tier list. Like, we're making this tier list before every roster is officially announced and before the game is even launched. I haven't even played the game yet because I have a PC and an Xbox, and so does Brock. So neither of us have actually touched the game.
But I've seen some clips, very interesting clips.
Yeah, and I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday night, so the beta is available to us tomorrow night. So Brock and I'll be playing that tomorrow, so maybe we'll have a little more thoughts next week. But Brock, you got anything to say before I close this one out?
Nope, I do not.
All right, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave some feedback in the comments down below. Obviously, Brock's first podcast, I think he did pretty well, and we'll continue to keep getting better as we get used to just being on the podcast together. It's kind of weird for me. I'm used to just going on rants for the last few months since we've had no Kyle for a little bit here, and I haven't really had like a back and forth like this in a while. It was fun. Obviously, the episode's a little longer when we go with two people.
A little nervous at the start, you know?
Yeah, and when we go with two people, it gets a little harder when you go with two people because it's like I'm about to go on a rant and I'm like, oh shoot, I am not used to this. It's been a while, and
I think it was a good first one.
Yeah, and now we've got somebody else in here, so I got to get used to the back and forth again. It's going to get also a lot easier and more fun when we actually have matches to talk about and like roster changes, and it's not like the offseason you're scrambling for content like this tier list and stuff. But
it's still a fun one to do, though.
Yeah,
I liked it.
So we'll be back next week. Brock will be back next week. We'll be maybe doing the Vanguard tier list. I don't want to promise that. Maybe it'll be some. Excuse me. Maybe there'll be some more news to talk about. Lose my voice here. I gotta take a drink. Maybe there'll be some more news to talk about. Hopefully, otherwise, maybe a Vanguard tier list. Maybe we'll do like a CDL draft, like Kyle and I have done in the past. Something like that. We'll figure something out. But that's gonna do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We just hit 700 subs, so thank you guys again so much for that. Comment down below your thoughts on the tier list. Where would you have people? Maybe comment down below somebody you'd move and somebody you think is perfect on the tier list, or what your tier list is. I know a lot of you guys like to do that. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, everyone.